Now here's where the story takes a darker and more uncomfortable turn, because rumors like these don't just appear out of nowhere, they are pushed, repeated, and amplified until they feel real. When you look closely at how the Jasmine Pineda deportation story spread, a clear pattern starts to emerge. Certain gossip pages posted it first, then reaction channels picked it up, then smaller creators copied the exact wording, and suddenly the phrase, "Court kicks her out in 30 days, became the official version in people's minds even though no court ever confirmed it. This is how internet truth is manufactured. One person guesses, another exaggerates, and 1,000 others repeat it until nobody remembers where it started. And Jasmine became the perfect target for this cycle because of her history on the show. She has cried on camera. She has screamed on camera. She has talked openly about fear, anxiety, and insecurity. To some viewers, that makes her entertaining. To others, it makes her easy to attack. So when the deportation rumor appeared, many people didn't question it. They accepted it because it fit the version of Jasmine they already believed in. But here's something most people ignore. Jasmine has always been very open about her life online. When big things happen, she reacts. She posts. She defends herself. She explains. In this case, there was no official breakdown, no legal document shared, no clear statement saying a judge ordered her to leave. Instead, there were emotional hints, vague comments, and frustration directed at people who were spreading lies about her. That alone should tell you something. If a court truly ordered someone to leave the United States within 30 days, silence would not protect them. Legal clarity would. And that clarity never came. What did come instead was more chaos. Some accounts claimed a cast member secretly reported her to immigration. Others said jealous people were trying to destroy her reputation. A few even claimed production knew and hid the truth. None of these claims were backed by evidence, but once again, evidence didn't matter. Emotion did. Fear did. Outrage did. And the more dramatic the claim, the faster it spread. This is where the story stops being about Jasmine and starts being about the audience. Why are people so quick to believe deportation rumors? Why is "kick her out" such an attractive headline? Because deportation is not just a legal issue, it's a punishment fantasy. It allows people to feel like someone they dislike is finally being held accountable, even if there is no proof. And reality TV fans are especially vulnerable to this because they feel like they know these people personally. They've watched their worst moments. They've judged their behavior. They've taken sides. So when a rumor promises consequences, many fans embrace it without question. But the real consequences fall on the person at the center of the rumor. Jasmine is not just a character. She is a mother. She is a woman living in a foreign country. She is navigating immigration systems that are already stressful without millions of strangers screaming, "deported," at her online. And misinformation like this doesn't just hurt emotionally. It can affect brand deals, mental health, and personal safety. That's why this situation matters. Not because it's dramatic, but because it shows how dangerous internet speculation can become when it targets immigration. Now let's address the biggest lie directly. The claim that a U.S. court has officially ordered Jasmine Pineda to leave the country in 30 days is not supported by any verified source. No immigration lawyer has confirmed it. No court record has surfaced. No major news outlet has reported it as fact. Everything traces back to rumor-based content and recycled headlines. That doesn't mean Jasmine's immigration journey is easy. It doesn't mean she has no stress. It doesn't mean nothing could ever happen in the future. But it does mean that right now, the viral story being sold to fans is exaggerated at best and completely false at worst. And that brings us to the biggest question of all. Why hasn't this rumor been shut down completely yet? Because outrage is profitable. Fear gets clicks. Drama pays. And correcting a lie is always quieter than spreading it. By the time the truth catches up, the damage is already done. Fans have already chosen sides. Comments are already written. Judgments are already made. Jasmine's name is already attached to the word deported, whether it's true or not. And that is exactly how internet trials work. No judge, no jury, just a headline and a reaction button. In the next part, we're going even deeper. We're going to talk about how this rumor could affect Jasmine's future on 90 Day Fiancé, what this means for reality stars with immigration stories, and why this situation is a warning sign for anyone who believes everything they see online. Because this isn't just about one woman. It's about a system that turns fear into entertainment. As the rumor continued to spread, something even more disturbing started to happen. People stopped asking whether the story was true and started asking how fast it would happen. Comments flooded in saying, "Good riddance, send her back, and she deserves it," as if a deportation order was already signed and sealed. This is the moment when gossip turns into mob mentality. Jasmine Pineda was no longer being discussed as a person with legal rights, but as a headline people wanted to see come true. And this is where misinformation becomes dangerous. Because immigration is not entertainment, it is not a plot twist, and it is not something that can be voted on by fans. Yet online, Jasmine was already convicted without evidence. Some creators even claimed to have inside sources, but when pressed, those sources were always anonymous, unnamed, and impossible to verify. Others used old clips from past seasons to suggest she was always at risk, carefully cutting out context to make it look like a recent confession. This editing trick is common, but effective. Viewers who don't remember the original episodes assume the footage is new, and the lie grows stronger. Meanwhile, Jasmine's actual reality was far less dramatic but far more human. Immigration processes are slow, stressful, and filled with uncertainty. Delays happen. Paperwork gets reviewed. Interviews take time. None of that equals a court order to leave in 30 days. But nuance does not go viral. Fear does. And fear was exactly what these rumors were built on. Another reason the story gained traction is because Jasmine has been framed as a villain before. Reality TV thrives on extremes. When someone cries loudly, fights publicly, or speaks without a filter, audiences feel justified in stripping away empathy. That made it easier for people to believe the worst about her situation. But believing something feels right does not make it true. And legally speaking, the claims still fall apart. U.S. immigration courts do not operate in secrecy. Deportation orders are not whispered through gossip blogs. If such a ruling existed, reputable journalists would confirm it, attorneys would comment on it, and documentation would exist. None of that has happened. Instead, the same dramatic sentence keeps being repeated with no proof attached. That repetition is intentional. The more a phrase is repeated, the more familiar it feels, and familiarity is often mistaken for truth. Jasmine, on the other hand, has hinted at feeling attacked, targeted, and overwhelmed. Those feelings were then twisted into evidence against her. Anxiety became guilt. Stress became confirmation. Silence became proof. This is the oldest trick in rumor culture. If someone denies it, they are lying. If they stay quiet, they are hiding something. There is no winning. And that is exactly why this story refuses to die. Because it is no longer about facts. It is about the satisfaction some people feel imagining consequences for someone they dislike. But here is the uncomfortable reality that many don't want to hear. Even if Jasmine were facing immigration challenges, spreading false deportation claims helps no one. It does not protect the system. It does not expose wrongdoing. It only normalizes harassment and misinformation. And once that door is open, it can happen to anyone. Today, it is Jasmine Pineda. Tomorrow, it could be another cast member. Another immigrant. Another public figure whose life is reduced to a clickbait sentence. This is why separating rumor from reality matters. Because when lies move faster than truth, damage becomes permanent. And as long as creators keep profiting from fear, stories like this will continue. In the next part, We will break down what this means for Jasmine's future on the show, how TLC and the 90-Day Fiancé franchise handle situations like this, and why this entire controversy may actually backfire on the people spreading it. Because the truth has a way of resurfacing, even when buried under. Now let's talk about what this rumor could actually mean for Jasmine Pineda's future, because whether the claim is true or false, the impact is already real. Reality television is not just about what happens on screen, it is about perception, branding, and audience trust. When a cast member becomes associated with a word as explosive as deported, that association sticks long after the rumor fades. Producers notice, networks notice, sponsors notice, and fans remember. For Jasmine, this moment could either become a career setback or a turning point, depending on how it is handled. TLC and the 90-Day Fiancé franchise have faced immigration controversies before, and historically, they do not rush to comment unless there is verified legal action. Silence from the network does not mean confirmation. It usually means there is nothing legally solid to address. If Jasmine were truly ordered to leave the United States within 30 days, production schedules, filming contracts, and legal teams would be forced to respond. None of that has happened publicly. That strongly suggests the situation is not what the headlines claim. But the damage of the rumor still matters because audiences often confuse silence with guilt. That confusion creates pressure on Jasmine to defend herself against something that may not even exist. And defending yourself against a rumor is exhausting, especially when every word you say is analyzed for hidden meaning. One wrong sentence can be turned into another headline. One emotional post can become proof. This is why many public figures choose limited responses, even when the lies hurt. Jasmine's emotional personality makes that choice even harder, because people expect reactions from her. When she does not give them, they invent their own. Another important factor is how immigration fear is used as entertainment in reality TV culture. Viewers are conditioned to see visas as countdown clocks and green cards as prizes. That framing makes it easy for audiences to believe that deportation can happen suddenly and dramatically. In real life, the process is slow, bureaucratic, and rarely cinematic. But cinema is what sells. And so the internet rewrites reality to fit a dramatic arc. Jasmine becomes the villain facing consequences. The court becomes the unseen executioner. The 30-day deadline becomes the ticking clock. It is a perfect story structure, even if it is completely fictional. And once a story feels complete, people stop questioning it. This is also where responsibility comes in. Creators who spread unverified claims are not just sharing opinions, they are shaping public belief. When immigration is involved, that belief can lead to harassment, threats, and dehumanization. Words like kick her out, strip away dignity, and replace it with spectacle. Jasmine is not just fighting a rumor, she is fighting a narrative that reduces her to an object of punishment. Yet there is another side to this story that many overlook. Controversy often increases relevance. In the world of reality television, being talked about is currency. If Jasmine navigates this moment carefully, clarifies the truth at the right time, and reclaims her story, this rumor could backfire on the people who spread it. Fans who feel misled often turn their anger toward clickbait creators. Sympathy shifts. Support grows. And the person who was supposed to be humiliated becomes more human in the public eye. That outcome is possible here. But it depends on patience and timing. The final lesson in this entire situation is simple but uncomfortable. The internet is faster than facts. Once a lie gains momentum, it does not need proof to survive. It only needs repetition. That is why viewers have a responsibility to question headlines. Look for sources. Ask who benefits from your fear. Because today it is Jasmine Pineda being deported by rumor. Tomorrow it could be someone else, and the cycle will repeat. As of now, there is still no verified evidence that a court has ordered Jasmine Pineda to leave the United States in 30 days. What exists is a viral story built on speculation, emotion, and profit. Until official confirmation appears, Everything else remains noise. And the truth, as always, is quieter than the... At this stage of the controversy, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. The rumor stops evolving and starts hardening. People are no longer sharing it as a question, they are sharing it as a conclusion. The headline becomes destiny. And this is the most dangerous phase, because once a story hardens, correcting it feels like betrayal to those who already believed it. They don't want the truth, they want validation. And that pressure forces the person at the center, Jasmine Pineda, into an impossible position. If she speaks calmly, she is accused of lying. If she gets emotional, she is accused of guilt. If she stays silent, she is accused of hiding something. This trap is especially cruel for immigrant women in the public eye, because their right to belong is constantly questioned. Jasmine is not being judged only for what she did on television, she is being judged for existing in a space some viewers feel she must constantly earn. That is why the deportation rumor felt believable to so many people. It aligned with an unspoken bias that says foreigners on reality TV are temporary guests, not permanent residents. And once that bias is activated, facts struggle to survive. Another layer that fuels this story is how immigration law is misunderstood online. People throw around terms like court, order, and deadline without understanding what they mean. Immigration cases are not resolved through viral announcements. They move through paperwork, hearings, attorneys, and timelines that stretch far longer than 30 days. But complexity doesn't trend. Simplicity does. So the internet simplifies the process into a dramatic sentence and repeats it until it feels official. Meanwhile, the human cost keeps rising. Jasmine's name becomes a magnet for hate. Comment sections turn aggressive. Strangers debate her legal status as if it were public property. This kind of scrutiny erodes trust and safety, especially for someone who already lives with anxiety under a spotlight. And yet, there is still no document, no confirmation, no authority backing the claim. That gap between noise and evidence is where responsibility should step in, but often doesn't. Platforms reward engagement, not accuracy. Creators chase momentum, not verification. And viewers consume without pausing to ask who is harmed in the process. This is why stories like this repeat across reality TV culture. The pattern is familiar. A dramatic personality, a vague statement, a rumor dressed as fact, a pile-on, then silence, then the truth quietly emerges, long after the damage is done. For Jasmine, the coming weeks will likely determine how this chapter closes. A clear statement, a legal clarification, or simply time passing without consequence could dismantle the narrative. When 30 days pass and nothing happens, the rumor will lose oxygen. And those who amplified it will quietly move on to the next target. But the memory will remain. That is the cost of viral misinformation. It doesn't disappear, it lingers. The final takeaway is not about defending or criticizing Jasmine's behavior on the show. It is about separating entertainment from reality. Drama can be edited. Headlines can be exaggerated. But immigration is real life. And turning it into clickbait crosses a line. Until proven otherwise, the claim that a court kicked Jasmine Pineda out of the United States in 30 days remains exactly what it started as, a rumor amplified by fear and profit, not a fact supported by evidence. The dust slowly begins to settle. Another reality becomes impossible to ignore. This rumor has revealed more about the audience and the internet than it has about Jasmine Pineda herself. The speed at which people accepted the deportation claim shows how easily narrative replaces verification in the age of viral content. Once a storyline feels dramatic enough, it no longer needs proof, it only needs repetition. And repetition is something the internet does better than truth. Jasmine's situation became a mirror reflecting how quickly empathy disappears when someone is labeled controversial. Viewers who once laughed at her emotional outbursts now felt justified imagining her removal from the country, as if deportation were a fitting punishment rather than a serious legal outcome. That mindset is dangerous because it turns real-world systems into moral scorecards. Immigration law does not exist to reward likable personalities or punish disliked ones, but online discourse often ignores that distinction. Another crucial point often overlooked is timing. Immigration cases do not suddenly explode without warning. If there were a genuine court deadline, signs would have appeared months earlier through legal discussions, attorney involvement, or official notices. None of that has surfaced. Instead, the rumor relies on urgency without foundation. 30 days sounds dramatic, but drama is not documentation. And yet, that number keeps being repeated because it gives the story a ticking clock, something audiences are trained to respond to. What happens next is predictable. As days pass without consequence, attention will shift. New scandals will replace old ones. The same channels that shouted "deported" will quietly stop mentioning the topic. No corrections. No apologies. Just silence. That is how misinformation fades, not by being disproven loudly, but by being abandoned when it stops generating clicks. Jasmine, however, will still carry the residue of the accusation. That is the unfair balance of viral culture. Creators move on untouched, while subjects absorb the impact. And that is why this moment matters beyond gossip. It highlights how power works online. Those who control narratives rarely face accountability, while those inside the narratives lose control of their own story. If Jasmine chooses to speak later, calmly and clearly, she may regain that control. But even then, the correction will never travel as far as the lie. That is the uncomfortable truth of the digital age. Ultimately, this entire controversy stands as a reminder. Headlines are not verdicts. Rumors are not rulings. And popularity does not equal credibility. Until official evidence exists, the claim that a court has ordered Jasmine Pineda to leave the United States in 30 days remains unproven. What is proven is how quickly fear can be monetized and how easily people can be convinced when drama feels more entertaining than reality. And that may be the most revealing part of this story. At this point, the conversation shifts from rumor to consequence, because even unproven stories leave real marks. For Jasmine Pineda, the weight of this narrative is not measured only in comments or views, it is measured in stress, fear, and the constant pressure of being watched. Living under a microscope changes how a person moves, speaks, and even breathes. Every post becomes strategic. Every silence becomes suspicious. Every emotion becomes evidence in the court of public opinion. This is the hidden cost of viral misinformation.